Hi there, and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Vidhi, and I like talking about all things beauty. So, today I thought I will round up all of the Merit products that I have tried so far. So, for those who may not know, Merit is mostly a makeup brand with a couple scattered skincare products that has a very curated selection of products. Their products are meant to be used by those who don't necessarily have the skill for makeup but still want to look a little bit more put together and more so for an everyday very quick look. So these aren't necessarily your full glam products. These are very much your everyday easy makeup products. So far I've had a chance to try, I want to say, a majority of their line, and I quite enjoy a lot of the products in there. The main reason what draws me to Merit is their curated selection of products, because oftentimes when I go towards a brand that has a pretty large selection of products, that always overwhelms me, and I really like that Merit has a very select products but a more curated mix of products. I'm gonna start with the base. So Merit has what they call the Minimalist Perfecting Complexion Stick. This is their foundation slash concealer product, and basically this is a stick foundation that I find to be extremely creamy and very easy to use. I personally enjoy a stick foundation quite a lot. I know most people, when they think of a stick foundation, they think of something very heavy, very stiff, and not easy to blend. But this is quite the contrary. I find this very easy to blend, and I actually find it very easy to use. What I really like about this is that because it's a stick foundation, I can just swipe it on into places that I need, and I don't necessarily need to swipe it on everywhere. And that's the general way that I like to use pretty much all base products, but more specifically foundation sticks. I like to use them in a very targeted manner and not necessarily all over my skin for a true foundation like look. So more so like a concealer than a foundation. This is more, I would say, low to medium coverage. It is buildable, but buildable only to a point. What I really enjoy about this, however, is that because it is a stick foundation, stick foundations, they tend to have a blurring effect on the skin, and I find that this actually blurs out my pores very well. It has a natural to maybe a natural matte finish, and again, personally for me, because I have oily combination skin, that really works in my favor, and that's why I reach for this quite often. In terms of longevity, I do find that this lasts quite well as well. Again, I will say this is not a full coverage foundation by any means. This is not meant for a full glam look. This is meant very much for that everyday quick look, and I find myself reaching for this quite often when I'm going to work, because like I said, it's very easy to use and it's very quick to use. If I were to compare this with some other foundations, in my opinion this does compare very closely with the Bobbi Brown stick foundation. If you ever tried that, I find it very hard to distinguish between the two. Another product that this compares quite well to is the Glossier Stretch Concealer. If you've used that, the Glossier Stretch Concealer is a little bit, just a little bit more balmy than this one. So that has a little bit more of a dewy, more of a natural dewy finish, I would say, whereas this has a very true natural to natural matte finish. If you have dry skin, I still think this can work quite well for you if you just prep your skin. I do know that a friend of mine who has dry skin, she uses this and she really enjoys it as well. Next, I have the Merit Flush Balms. Now, these are Merit's blushes. I have two shades. I have the shade Après and I have the shade Fox. I would say amongst all of the products that I have from Merit, these are my most favorite product. But I will say by no means are these unique products. You can very easily find something on the market that's very similar. But what I really like about them, one, of course, the shades that I own, I tend to reach for them very often. And two, the fact that they're so so beginner friendly. Again, I think that's the highlight of Merit products in general. They're all very, very beginner friendly. So while these blushes are pigmented, they're not too pigmented to the point that they will intimidate you. They're actually very, very easy to use and they blend out super easily. So the two shades, as I was mentioning, I have the shade Fox and I have the shade Apres. Fox is an absolutely stunning everyday nude brick shade that will work with almost every look. And Apres is a lovely berry toned shade that can just lift my skin on the days that I need it. So both of these shades I constantly reach for. They're definitely one of my most used blushes in my collection. And if you're interested in all the blushes in my collection, I do have a video on that should be coming up shortly, or if it is already up, I will link it up in the cards. But coming back to these, like I was mentioning, they're very, very easy to blend. Pigmented, but not too pigmented. Their finish is, I would say, natural to natural dewy, but definitely not sticky on the skin. They don't feel sticky or uncomfortable on the skin in any way. They're very, very comfortable to use. I will say though that given all their benefits, the only downside is that they don't quite last through the day. They do fade, and while they do fade, they fade quite well. So I don't necessarily mind that, but if you're looking for a long lasting blush, these are probably not your best bets. The next thing that I have from Merit is their eyeshadows. This is the Merit Solo Shadows, and I have it in two shades. I have it in the shade Social and I have it in the shade Mid Century. These are cream to powder eyeshadows. And to be honest with you, initially when I got this eyeshadow, I was actually quite disappointed. The reason being is that when you think of a cream eyeshadow, you think of it being highly pigmented and you don't need to put too many swipes on. But unfortunately, these aren't quite like that. And the reason for that is likely because they're intentionally geared towards beginners. And because of that, these are actually not pigmented. I would say they're very, very low on the pigmentation, and you actually do have to build them up quite a bit with several swipes until you can actually see pigment on your eyelids. But again, I don't mind that because that works really well for an everyday look, and it's really, really hard to go overboard with them. Mid Century is definitely my favorite shade because my personal preference is always like a warm brown that I can just use as a wash of color all over my lid. And Mid Century works perfectly for that. It's definitely my most used everyday eyeshadow. The other shade that I have is Social. I do have a little bit of a thing for pink eyeshadows, but I find that I can't make all pink eyeshadows work for me because while I am fair, I do have a little bit of pigmentation on my eyelids, which actually causes a shift in the shade for a lot of pink eyeshadows. And that's the reason why not all of them work for me. I was hopeful that this sort of pinkish mauve would be a nice everyday pink shade for me. But unfortunately, while it doesn't necessarily shift colors on me, it is a very cool toned pink mauve. So this is the shade Social, and it looks lovely here. It looks lovely on a lot of people, especially in the photos on the website. But on my eyelids, it just looks like a little bit of a shadow. It looks like my normal pigmentation coming through, and that's mainly because I think it is so cool toned and because I have a warmer undertone that it just doesn't look as natural or as nice on my skin tone. If you have fair skin, however, I think this would look absolutely, absolutely lovely on you. It is a lovely, lovely shade, but on me it just looks like a shadow. It doesn't look like eyeshadow. It just looks like a shadow. It looks like pigmentation on my eyelids, and that's not something that I'm going for. I also did try their green shade, and I will pop that in here. I tried their green shade in Sephora. I haven't bought that, and I found that it was actually really nice in the sense that it's a lovely wearable green. again, likely if you have fair skin, on my skin, I don't think it will show up. On my eyelids, rather, I don't think it will show up. But if you're looking for a green eyeshadow that's wearable, I think you might want to check out Merit. In general, if you want wearable everyday eyeshadows, I think the Merit Solo shadows are really, really good. I would just be careful of the shades that you get if you have darker skin tones. I think if you have fair skin tones, pretty much everything will work very well for you. Next up, I have the signature lipstick in the shade Slip. Now, this is their original signature lipstick, more of the moisturizing version. I know that they have a new matte version of these lipsticks, but I haven't had a chance to try those. Speaking for this lipstick, I think the formula is absolutely lovely. If you're a person who doesn't enjoy the traditional lipsticks because you find them to be very drying on your lips, or you find them to be very sticky, I think this is a great formula. It's very moisturizing, it's not super pigmented, so it's actually, again, very easy to use. And it's very comfortable on the lips. You don't feel like you have anything on the lips when you wear this. But unfortunately for me, I bought the shade Slip, which is sort of a cool toned brown shade, hoping that this would be my foray into brown lipsticks. But unfortunately, again, because it's cool toned, it doesn't look quite as nice on me, or at least it's not a look that I go for often. Maybe I'll just do a quick swatch on my lips so you can see what I mean. Like I mentioned, this is the shade in Slip. You can almost see my lateral lip color coming through. Um, but unfortunately for me, because it is so cool tone, I just don't like this look. I just have to work very, very hard to make it work. If I really want to wear it, what I do is I'll go in with a lip liner. So this is the MAC lip liner in Whirl, to give my lips a little bit of a definition, because otherwise I feel like it just washes me out a little bit. It makes me look like I'm not feeling well on that day. And again, I feel like this is a completely a me problem. Maybe I just don't reach for shades like that, and maybe they just don't work for me. But overall, I still think that these are really, really nice lipsticks. So you can see I just had to add a little bit of a lip liner to it to actually give my lips a little bit of definition. But like I was mentioning, this is 100% a me problem, and maybe if I bought another shade, I would quite enjoy these lipsticks. And genuinely, I think this formula is very, very comfortable. They're not sticky at all. You don't feel them on the lips at all. They're not heavily pigmented, which makes them very easy to use, very, very workable for every day. So I will likely buy another shade at some point, but this particular shade just doesn't work for me as well, and I will likely be passing it on to a friend. Now, finally, I have the Merit lip oil. This is the lip oil. This is the Shade Slick Tinted Lip Oil in Pink Beat. Now, I know that Merit has two versions of their lip oil. One is a more sort of wash of color, it's not got too much pigmented, and then the other one is the one that I have, that's the shade Slick, which actually has a little bit more pigment. For me, this is the perfect lipstick for those who don't like lipstick at all. This is, of course, a great option, but this is closer to what a traditional lipstick would be. This, on the other hand, is packed in with pigment. Well, I shouldn't say packed in, I would say this has a reasonable amount of pigment similar to a lipstick, but it's in the vehicle of a lip gloss. And a lip gloss that's not too thick or sticky, it feels very, very weightless on the lips. So, for me personally, I really like having this in my arsenal for the days that I need to go out and I need a little bit of lipstick on my lips, but I just don't feel like wearing a traditional lipstick. I think this is a really, really nice option. So, I'm going to just put this on quickly so you can see how it looks. So you can see it just added a little bit of a tint here because I do have the lipstick underneath, but hopefully you can see that it does have a shine, but that shine doesn't come with the stickiness which is usually associated with a lip gloss or even a lip oil for that matter. And that's why I really find that these lip oils are unique, and they're not quite like the other lip oils available. I would be very interested in trying out their more sheer lip oils as well, and I'll probably get my hands on it a little bit later once the summertime comes in. So, with that, that actually wraps up all of the Merit products that I own. But I have also had a chance to try two more products in store. I've tried the bronzer, and the bronzer, I found that while the shades were really nice, I found that the formula was just too dewy for me. I was hoping to actually get it for this video, but when I tried it in store, I just figured that it's just not for me. It's very easy to use for sure. Very blendable, yes. Pigmented, yes. Really nice shades, yes. But it does not set in. That dewiness just remains on the skin. And for me, given that I have oily combination skin, that's just not a kind of product that I would go for, especially for a bronzer. I do like my bronzers to be more on the natural to natural matte side such that they set in, because if it's too dewy, what happens is your hair ends up sort of sticking to it, and that's just not something that I enjoy. I also tried out the highlighter sticks that they have, and while I really like the shades a lot, the those type of highlighters, the balmy stick kind of highlighters, they're just something that I've grown out of over time. Again, because I have oily combination skin, they're just not a product that wears well for me through the day. It just makes me look extremely oily, and it's not something that I reach for anymore. I have owned several in the past, but it's just not something I reach for anymore. Apart from that, I think Merit just offers one more serum, which unfortunately I haven't had the chance to try. But yeah, I think that kind of wraps it up. I would love to hear from you if you've tried Merit, and what are your thoughts on the brand and on the products that you've tried so far. I hope you enjoyed this and I hope you found this helpful. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for spending your time with me. I will see you next time. Bye bye.